my experience with scarcity. So, about 2 years ago, when the pandemic just started, many goods and services became scarce in different parts of the world and hit people in different ways, right? So, one of the things that stuck in my memory was the long lines and of people in their cars at the gas station. Um, the price was too high. It was around 10 reais. It's like almost 3 Canadian dollars and per liter, okay? And
Oh,
people would still spend like the night sometimes at the line to put gas on their cars. So it was a moment that became clear to me how a shortage looks like and how it works. Even with this highest price that I have ever seen, people would still were staying like for more than 6 to 10 hours waiting for their turn to put gas in their cars. So I was waiting to see if things would get like normal again, and but I ended up got myself searching for the gas station with the smallest line in my city because um, I was needing to put gas on my car. Right, I need to go to university. I need to do my stuff, and I had to put gas on my car. So I ended up finding a gas station near my home that had like a 1 hour waiting line, and I had to stay there and wait a little bit more than an hour to finally be able to put gas on my car. And yeah, it was a really bad experience for me and for my friends and family. After that, I talked about this with them. Um, we had like wait for so long and pay very high prices just because the supply was low, the gas supply was low, and the demand increased like almost immediately because people were filling up their tanks to make sure they would be have enough gas for the week at least. So it was a very complex situation because everyone wanted to fill up their tanks because no one knows when you have to go to the gas station again, and you would have to like stay hours in the line. So yeah, that was my experience. Thank you.
oh, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, mine was more like mine is just what impacted me directly, like a life story, how I came to Canada, and it's boils around the, the critical thinking, the scarcity of cash, and also my choice. Um, I work back there in Nigeria, and I have some side hustles. Those side hustlings were businesses I opened with friends, and it got to an extent we weren't making profit. And I looked at everything, and I just felt that I needed some education. I needed education to come put back into this business. And now, how do I get the education? I thought of where I could get a very good master degree. Again, I thought again the thinking of leaving family, leaving friends, also resigning from my job. So it was a hard decision to make. I looked at all the universities. I thought of going to Harvard. I thought of going to London Business School. And when I looked at how much I was to pay, it was like all my life savings. I said, all my life savings. And it was so hard. And that's when somebody actually came up and told me about coming to Canada, not only getting that education, not only getting a cheaper education, that I will get some benefits from it, as in, PR, citizenship, and there are lots of job here, getting the Canadian experience, and try to, you can also, that the financial institutions here are favorable to people that want to open small businesses. So I said, okay, why don't I just try coming here? And like I said before, the thinking of leaving family, friends, leaving my job, it wasn't today actually. It wasn't something I just need to think about. But finally I'm here, and I've made up my mind with what I have, because I now looked at the school fees. It's okay. It's something that I can afford, and I had to, pay, uh, comparing to what I'll get, I'll get the same thing I'll get in Harvard there, what I'll get in London Business School, I'll get it here. And those ones are very expensive. And with this amount of money I have, I think I can get this good education here. And not only the education, we get the benefits of even getting my residence permit here and bringing my family down here in Canada. So that's just my story.
Okay, awesome. Next.
Yes, so I would like to discuss my experience about the scarcity of resources. So I would like to talk about my home country, that is India, and when pandemic was hit in the year 2020. All right, so it was really a new thing for everyone that there was a lockdown all over the country, and there were limited resources. So the one of the major limited resources were the healthcare. Okay, so countries started prioritizing the COVID patients. So they were prioritizing the COVID patients, and they were giving the healthcare facilities to the COVID patients and to treat them. However, in this process, what happened was the other patients, they were the non-COVID patients, were forced to postpone their treatments. Likewise, so I was the one. So my one of the surgery was scheduled during that time. However, it was getting postponed because of this lockdown and this healthcare facilities, as government started prioritizing the COVID patients, and there were very limited resources in terms of the doctors, in terms of the ICU beds, also the general ward beds, and many more. So in that scenario, whenever I used to visit the hospital, so they were like, no, we are not doing this surgery right now. You have to visit us again back when we are back in the action for that particular surgery. So yes, that was my experience, and that moment I realized what scarcity of resources exactly means. That was my personal experience. So in that, so when I was in India, so government particularly was focusing on the COVID patients, and non-COVID patients were just postponing their treatment. So that was an we can say the lack of initiatives which were taken by the government. So it can lead to an person can of course die because of such thing also. Okay, so that was my experience.
Okay.
Okay. So about my experience with scarcity, uh, I'm pretty sure like many of you have um heard of the story about Sri Lanka and the state it is right now. It is still it is still in peril, so it's pretty hard even now. I'm not gonna talk about that because like three of us would be talking about post-COVID situations. So I'm gonna go for something that is different, and it's about my father. So he actually got sick 5 years ago, and he was a very fit, like an active guy. And this sickness just came, and like no doctor was able to find what it was. And like we did every kind of test there is, every like complex test we've done it by then. And it took like 1.5 years to actually find what the sickness was. And even when we found it, there were no medicine for the uh, treatment here in Sri Lanka. So we had to actually buy the first few doses because the government had to particularly import the medicine from abroad just to cure him. So it was really expensive, like about $150 per day. So it was really expensive when we are talking about in uh, when we are talking about the cost in my currency in like in Sri Lankan rupees. So for the first few months we had to completely take care of him, and it was a very stressful uh, few months because we obviously had no idea what was going on with him and what was causing it, and we only knew that he was sick, and no one was able to find what was wrong with him for like 2 years. So that was my experience in scarcity because like no one had the knowledge to find out, no one had the knowledge to exactly point out what the sickness was. It was a really stressful situation because we actually thought that he was not gonna last that long. So it was really hard for us as a family, as a son. So yeah, I'm happy that he pulled through and somehow actually someone found what it was and treated him for it. And after a while, doctors actually said that someone else would have actually died. But he survived and he's living a healthy life.
Okay.
Okay, great. That's good to know. That's good to know. I'm happy to hear that. All right. So, like Sunday, my scarcity is similar in regards to my home country and education. All right, so I had a choice of staying in Jamaica and going to university versus coming to
Yeah.
Canada or going to
Sorry.
that's fine. That's fine. All right. So I had a choice of coming to Canada or going to USA or staying in Jamaica to do my master's. Based on my first degree, I'm unable to start practicing in that field until I actually have a master's or um, something of a higher stature. I had to make a choice of leaving Jamaica when I looked at the factors surrounding the education system there, what I wanted to do, and how achievable it was. Um, in Jamaica, I would have had the fee would have been less, to be very honest, because looking at international fee in Canada, what I'm paying for 2 years here, I would not be paid that, not even for 1 year there, to be very honest. Two, I would have my family there. So I would not be paying rent and like living in a different household, being away from my family, my friends, my culture, everything that I know. For I would working because I could have the option of going to school on weekends or in the afternoon. So I still have employment. However, the job opportunity to work within the psychological field there is not as how it is in Canada, right? One thing I had to look at as well, if I get my master's in Jamaica, I'm not so feasible to work outside of Jamaica in comparison to getting my master's in Canada. I can work in Canada and I can also work in Jamaica if I choose to. So the versatility of getting a degree here outweighs getting one in Jamaica. So I had to choose at that time to say, okay, you know what, it would be best for me to actually leave. So constant, even though the money would be more, even though I'm leaving behind my family, my friends, my culture and everything, I still had to make a choice, and I choose to come to Canada, knowing that, hey, when I'm finished, I'll have a degree, I'll be able to work in not only Canada, but I can go across to the US, UK, other countries, go back home in comparison to if I had just done my degree in Jamaica, I would have to just work within Jamaica, because when you go to certain first world country, you have to get an education from there. You have to gain working experience from there. So even though we come here being engineers or having years of experience, we still have to start out working as normal laborers or in a store or whatever, even though we have a first degree, even though we may have more knowledge and experience than even persons that they have in supervisory position, we still have to start from below because we don't have their kind of working experience. So I chose to come here. And I think that was the best option because of what I want to do. So the sacrifice, the trade-off that I had to make, I look at the trade-off I had to make, what I had to give up. The incentive, though, is that I'll be more marketable when I'm finished. And I'm finished, I'll be more marketable. So that's how, for me, scarcity affected my whole transaction of being here. Yeah. So for us, that's how it impacted all of our life, whether it is from school, looking at from pull factors to come into Canada for school, post COVID, how it affected our country and how we wanted better for ourselves and how it affected our family life. That's what we decided to speak about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
All right, so I will stop the recording now. I think stop recording. I don't know how to stop. Okay, stop recording. Yeah, it's not stopping.